Okay, hello everyone. This is going to be the revision tutorial for your test next week. Now I'm using Blender 3.0. There's only one difference between this and the latest version, which is how to import the images. Now, if you're on anything older than Blender 4, you need to install an add-on called Images as Planes. So Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and you look for Images. And you will find this Import Images as Planes. You activate that and you're ready to go. If you're on the latest version, you can just right click and you will find Add Image, or or Shift A, and you will find Add Image here, or Image, and you can add your image from there. Okay, so we'll go to File, Import, and Images as Planes, and then I'll look for my file, which will be Polytechnic. So there you go, Polytechnic 3D Animation 1. Video tutorials, and that's the image, and I'm going to import it. Now, as you can see, nothing appears here. If you go to the texture view, you will see your picture appearing. I'm using this logo, the UPS logo, but you don't necessarily want to be on texture view all the time. So if you're on solid view, you can simply open the options from this arrow here and just choose texture, and it will appear in solid view. Now it's up to you whether you want to work in solid view or texture view. I prefer to work on solid view. It's much easier on the computer. It's much faster. So I'm going to rotate this on X 90 degrees, so RX 90. And then I'm going to move it back, so grab Y, move it back. It doesn't matter how much you move it back because we're going to go to an orthographic view anyway. So, okay, we can start modeling now. So I'm going to add a cube. It's a very large cube. So I'm going to scale up my logo and probably move it back a little bit. Grab Y. Okay, and then I can start modeling using this cube. Now you can start with a plane, you can start with a cube, whatever. I'm going to start with a cube. I think it's much easier to do that, but there are things that you need to keep in mind. Okay, so we'll go to texture, to edit mode. Never mind, I have an add-on installed here. That's why mine looks like that. Never mind, you just click tab and go to edit mode. Okay, so we can start now. Now, the first thing you want to do is activate X-ray mode, because we want to choose points that we can't see, and you need it to be in some kind of a transparent mode to see these points, as we talked about in class before. So I'll go to the front view, and this is very important. You have to be in a front view or an orthographic view anyway. And then when you select your vertices, you drag across these vertices, and now it will select this vertex and the vertex behind both. Okay, so I'll go back to front view, and now I can start modeling. So I'll take these up. Let's just get the arrow. I'll take these up, I'll take these down. So this will be in the Z direction. Okay, and then you can just model this. Of course, you can, if you're feeling too fancy, you can obviously use the mirror modifier to do this. Okay, so you don't have to stick to how I am doing this. Okay, you can use the mirror modifier to make one side and let it create the other side. But possibly the logo that will come to you in the exam will not be symmetrical, so that's pointless. Okay, so now Control R to add a loop cut. Just click and press enter. I'll take that up, take this down, and now I'm going to add loop cuts where needed, basically. So I need one here, approximately here. I'll shift this to that side, I'll shift that to this side. Maybe I need another one here. Move it to this side. Move that to that side. I'm not being very overly accurate, I don't think you really need to be that accurate for this to be believable. So I'm going to add one loop cut here, drag this up, another loop cut here, oops, do that again, another loop cut here without moving it, put that there. Okay, now if you need any more, if you feel that like you need any more loop cuts, then go ahead and add more. I don't think I'm not going to add any more. I want to get this tutorial over and done with quickly. So this is basically what it is. You can add more loop cuts if you want it to be smoother. That's up to you. Now, if you notice, now we have all of that. You can go ahead right now and select all these vertices and push them there for it to be, you know, much thinner. And then I'm going to get out of edit mode, and I'm going to look at how to create the inner brown part. So the inner brown part will be, for me now, I can either create it exactly the same way as I created this, or I see that they are very similar, so I can copy this and create the brown part from it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate and enter without moving anything. So it will be duplicated in place. And then I'm going to move this a bit to the front. Now I'm going to go to front view, go to X-ray mode. I'm going to scale this down. Okay, until it matches the brown part there. And now I'm going to just match these points to it. So edit mode, go to X-ray, and just basically push and pull vertices until it matches. Now, as I said, and I will reiterate, if you feel like you need more points to make it smoother, you can go ahead and create more. But for me, I think that's enough. I'm going to get out of it, and that's the other part done. Now, the letters. It's not necessary to match the font exactly like it is. So I'm going to create a text object, if I can find it. Text, yeah, RX 90. Make it stand up. Bring it forward. Now there is one thing that I want to do here, which is I want to take this pivot point to the center of my text. I don't want it on the side of my text, and that's easy to do in object mode. If you select the text and you go to object, you can go set origin and say geometry to origin or origin to geometry. It doesn't really matter. Geometry to origin will move the geometry to that point. Origin to geometry will move the point to the geometry. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, and now the text is centered in the middle without me having to do anything. And I'm going to edit this. So it says UPS. Get out of edit mode. And I can go to the text properties and go to the geometry tab and extrude it a little bit. That should be enough because it's going to intersect anyway. And then I'll go back to front view, X-ray mode, so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to scale this up, grab. As I said, this the lettering and the font and all that doesn't really need to be that accurate, as long as it sort of matches. I mean, I don't have the font for UPS, so there. And then it's done. Just move this back. Yeah, we'll just move this back, and there we go. The modeling part for the logo is done. Okay, so next step, texturing. So I'm going to go to shading. And this is pretty simple. So I'm going to select this, add a new shader. And for that, I just want to color these things. I don't want to do anything much more than coloring. So in the base color, you can simply take this eyedropper and just click on somewhere that from the original logo where the color you feel is correct. And then the same material one, I'll call it gold. Okay, so we can see what we're doing. I'll call this gold. Now, if you go to the text and you want it to have the same material, you don't need to recreate it. You can simply go here and it will list all the materials that you have. So just select gold, and that's done. For this, we need a new material because it has a different color. So same thing. I'll take the eyedropper and just select, maybe I'll select a darker color from down here. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Now, any additions you want to make, you have your materials and you can make these additions. So for example, the brown material, I don't know, if you want to make it, I don't know, metallic or something, okay? So it will be metallic. If you want it to have very, very little roughness, so it's reflective, you can do that. I'll put it right in the middle. If you're feeling, if you have enough time and you feel like you want to add a bit more of a complex texture, I'll just give you an example texture here. So you can go Shift A and create maybe a noise texture. So you can go to texture, you can create a noise, and of course, as my advice is always, practice 3D. If you don't practice it, there is no way that you can master it or even make anything believable in it. So there is a noise texture. I can put that in roughness, for example, and that will give me some parts that are reflective like that. So some parts are reflective, some parts are not. If you want to control that even more, you can add a color ramp. So I'll just write ramp here and I'll choose color ramp, put it in there, and I can dial in my texture. And of course you can increase the scale of your texture. Maybe flip this around so I'll have more black than white. Okay, something like that. Scale up the texture even more. Okay, and that will give you some kind of a what we call stupid roughness. Make this lighter, make the black lighter, so there won't be much of a difference, a jarring difference between the two. Okay, so you have that. You can add the same texture to your bump map, which will give you quite a few grades, any extra. So to do that, as we said in class, we need a translator called bump. So there you go, bump map, and factor to height. Wait for it a little bit, and that will give me that. Of course, I'll dial down the strength, okay, for it to look a bit more believable. So there, a bit of a texture on it. All right, so yeah, so that's the texturing part, let's say, done. I'll take that and make it possibly metallic. Yeah, we'll make it metallic. Okay, so next step, I'll go to layout, and here I'll go now to render view because I want to light my scene. So the first step in lighting my scene, I want to get rid of this gray background. I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to hide it. I'm not going to delete it, but I'm going to hide it. So I'm going to get rid of my environment, my gray environment. So I'm going to make it black. So everything is totally dark. I don't want any light in my scene at all. And that's the correct way of doing things. So now I'm going to create some lights. So I'm going to make a point light here. Okay, and just rely on lights to light my scene. I'll take this whole thing up, grab this up here. So I'm going to have a 3 light setup, so this is going to be my key light. So I'm going to make this much stronger. Okay, what are we at now? Okay, so let's say 1000. Okay, and you can take that, duplicate it, so Shift D, enter, go there. I'll go down a little bit, and that will be my fill light, so that's going to be about, let's say, 250. Okay, maybe I'll take this light. It's hiding somewhere there. So also I can sculpt it a bit better. Yeah, that's better to have some shadows at least. You can have a backlight as well. I'm not going to do that. It's up to taste. So you can experiment with your logo. Okay, so next step is camera, and for that I'm going to go back here, or actually I will split the screen. So this side is going to be render view, so I can see what I'm doing. I don't have a camera in my scene right now, so the first thing I need, of course, I need a camera. So I'm going to go to front view and create a camera because I want it to point in the right direction. So Shift A, create a camera. Okay, it's pointing forward, that's all I want. And now I'm going to look through the camera. So I'm going to press 0 on my number pad. If you don't have that, then you can go to I'm gonna get out of this. If you don't have a number keypad, you can go to View, Align. No, sorry. Just press on the camera button. I'm sorry about that. Just press the camera button, and it will take you to camera view. Okay, you don't need to do much more of that because I'm going to create a rig for the camera. So there, now it's looking through it. I'm going to create a rig for the camera anyway, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to control the camera. I'll let the rig control the camera. Now, one thing you need to know about this is that you can animate the camera. If you don't want to create the rig, you can animate the camera. So you can take the camera here, and while it's selected, you can go to, with cameras, you go to location and rotation. So I pressed I to create a keyframe, and then, I don't know, go to frame 50, shift it over, adjust it. So I'll rotate the camera here, so it will look at this thing, and then press I, and now you have this camera movement. Okay, so you can definitely do that, and you can add more and more keyframes. This is easy. We've done it many times. I'm sure you're familiar with this. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to create a rig for the camera. So just I haven't deleted the keyframes, so I'll delete the keyframes. And we're looking through the camera here, and we're working on this side. So I'll give myself a bit more space to work. Okay, so I want a circular rig, as I showed you in class as well. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to create a curve, circle, and that's that basically. And that will be the controller, or the sorry, what have I done? Okay, I think I messed it up. Okay, so I'm going to scale this up. Okay, approximately where the camera is. Doesn't really matter, you can scale it up later. So this is going to be the track for my camera. Now, I need to create a constraint for the camera. So here is the camera. And to create a constraint, we click here on this. And then the first thing we need to do is to clamp to the camera, to clamp to the curve. So clamp to, target will be my Bezier circle. And as you can see, the camera now is pointing, well, it's on the track. And press cyclic, because this will not prevent you, this will mean that your circle will not have a start and an end. Okay, so you can freely move your camera. Now the problem is the camera is moving in the same direction, or pointing at the same direction, which is not really what we want. We want it to point at the logo. Now we can take the camera and create another constraint called track 2. And with track 2, we can select, for example, I don't know, this piece of the logo, and it will always point at it. So if I move the camera now, it will always point at that. Okay, but, and I know I showed you this in class, but this is not ideal, because there is a better solution than this. If you want to keep this, of course you can keep it, but there is a better solution, just for you to know, which is to create an empty and let the camera point at that. So you can animate the empty. You're not bound by where the logo is. You can come into the logo from top to bottom, right to left, whatever you want. So I'm going to create an empty and point the camera at the empty. So the target for in the track 2 constraint, instead of it being cube, I'm going to remove that cube, and instead I'm going to choose, I think I chose the wrong thing. So I'm going to select my empty from here, and now it's looking at the empty. Now I can move this empty up. I can move this empty wherever I want it to, wherever I want the camera to point at. And as you can see, this gives, if I can animate it, and that will give me another level of animation. So now, there are things that I can animate. I can animate the circle up and down. I can also animate the scale of the circle to come in from outside to inside. And I can animate the empty, which goes up and down. And that will give you a lot of control for this logo. Now, the track doesn't need to be a circle. It can be anything you want. But for simplicity, we're just going to do a circle animation. So I'm going to start my animation, let's say from here. Say from here. And I'm going to end it somewhere here. So to do that, you simply just animate the location of your camera. You don't need rotation, because rotation is controlled by all sorts of other things. So press I on that, and then grab, oops, that's frame 1. And let's say 4 seconds. So by frame 100, it will go in that direction until it reaches, I don't know, here. Like a front view. And press I, and hopefully that will work. So there. How many rotations? I think it went 2 rotations because I rotated it twice, possibly. Okay, I'll delete that, and I will do that again. It's possibly to do with the circle as well. So I scaled the circle. I'm going to scale it again. That doesn't really matter. But if you remember, we always did that. Scale, apply scale. So Control A to apply scale of anything that you scale up or down. Well, I don't think it's an issue, but we'll see. So I want this to go, say, this much, and I'll see again. Yeah, okay, that's better. I think by mistake I went twice first time. Okay, so there, I have a camera animation now, a circle camera animation. Now I can add more stuff to it. So now, sorry about that. So now I can take this circle and animate the circle. So I'll go to the first frame, animate the location of the circle. So I'm going to go from here. So I'll animate, keyframe the location of the circle, and then at frame after 100, maybe, or maybe before 100. As long as it's not 100, don't end things on the same frame. It looks bad. Okay, so at frame 80, for example, I'm going to take this down to my final view. So let's say here, final height, I mean. And I'm going to keyframe that as well. So now I have this animation. Okay, I can add to it. I can go from far to near by scaling the circle. Try that on your own. So you can animate the scale of the circle as well. And the last thing I want to show you with animation is let's animate the empty, which is here somewhere. I'm going to take this empty up to the front here, and then I will animate this empty as well. So I'll go to frame 1, and let's make the empty start, I don't know, somewhere here. Okay, so that's location I to do that, and then by frame, let's say 120, we'll go here and frame my logo, and then I for another keyframe, and now this will be the full animation as you can see now. All right, so one thing is I'm going to show you something else. So select your camera. I'm going to select my camera from here. Select your camera and go to camera properties and go to viewport display. This word here, I have no idea how to pronounce it. If you take it all the way up, it will only show you what's inside the camera and it will make everything black. Okay, so the final animation will be that. Okay. Something else that you can animate are the lights. So you can animate the intensity of the light. You can animate the location of the light for your logo to have some kind of a shiny thing running around it. So let me show you very quickly what I mean. So I'm going to duplicate this light. I'm going to take this up above the camera. I don't want it to show in the camera really. Now there it is. So while it's here, I'm going to take it up. I don't want it to show in the camera at all. So now it's not showing. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this up here. Okay, I'm going to take this up here. I'll take it to one side, make it very, very strong. Okay, so I don't know, 10,000 maybe. Still not reaching. Let's see. Maybe I'll take it down a little bit. There. Yeah, okay, so I think you can see the shadow. So I'll take this to maybe 20,000. Okay, so you can have this, I don't know if you can see the shadow, you can have this subtle effect. You can play with the shadows using this, okay, if you animate it. You can do it on this side, or you can do it like that. So you can see what I mean. Now again, I'll leave that to you. I showed you how to set it up. I'll leave it to you how to animate it. You can animate the light, and that will give you some beautiful results. Now the last step we need, let me just delete this light. The last step we need is the rendering. Now, to do that, there are a few steps that you need to take, but most of them happen here. And first of all, go to the render tab, and actually there's nothing in the render tab for you to do, because we're going to render in Eevee anyway. Yeah, in the render tab, you can add some bloom if you want. You can add reflections, screen space reflections, if you wish. You can play around with these things, ambient occlusion. You can play around with these things if you like. If you want to make, for example, the text glow, for example, this is how you activate it. And the newer version and the latest version, it's in compositing. It doesn't work here, so never mind that. Okay, but most of the work is going to happen here in the output tab. Make sure of your resolution first, that it matches what is required. This is the size of your camera. This should be at 100%. Make absolutely sure that the frame rate is what is required. So in this case, 24 frames per second. Frame start and frame end. So my animation ends at 120. There is no need to render 250 frames, so 120 here. Okay, and that will cut the animation, the frames I mean, and make absolutely sure that the step is 1. If it's 0, it will not render. If it's 2, it will skip frames. Okay, so make sure that this is 1. The next thing you need to do is go to the output and set a folder for your Polytechnic 3D Animation 1, 25. Okay, so I'm going to create a new folder here. I'll call it render. Okay, and choose that folder. So it's going to give me my file in this folder, and then choose the format. Now, for the format, for the test, we definitely will go with an MP4. So to do that, go to FFmpeg, and then in the encoding, make sure that you're on MPEG-4. Okay, so you can just output an MP4. The rest of it doesn't really matter. Okay, and that's done. So the next thing you want to do is just go to render and render animation. We'll wait for it to finish rendering. And as you can see, because I turned up glow, it is shiny and happy, and I forgot not to render this. For you, just delete that logo, the one in the back, okay? When you're done, just delete it. Okay, so the render is done. And now I can go to my folder, find the render, and play it. And that's my render done. All right, so that's that, and good luck with the exam.